Alright guys, I'll show you home today. So, give you guys a little update on the grain truck. I've been kind of looking around on that thing. I know that some of you guys, especially 3C6, and I think there was a couple other guys too that were saying that the fill for the transmission is on the side of the transmission, so you can fill it, you know, new oil. Well, I don't see it. So, I'm not even sure. But at this point, I think it's on the top side of the transmission. So, I kind of did some digging around on the floor. And I noticed that there's two covers on the floor, but one's really tiny, and I already looked into that, and that's nothing. That was, I think, for when they used that same cab design, either on the smaller trucks or the bigger trucks than what I got, they moved the master cylinder under the cab. See, whereas mine is, you know, under the hood along the frame rail. I think on some of the trucks they had it literally still on the frame but underneath the cab, so you had to you had to go through the floor, I guess, in order to fill it or check it or whatever. But my truck still has that access hole, even though the master cylinder for the brakes things, it's not there. So it's just an empty hole. I guess maybe if you wanted to add something in the future, you could and use it there. But I noticed that there was another cover on the floor, and that's actually where the gear shifter and the brake and the parking brake lever, they both poke through the floor. So I am in the process of removing that cover because I'm going to take a look. But right now I had to take the carpet off. I don't know if I think that carpet might have been something that my great grandpa added. Maybe was helping to keep sound down a little bit or help keep the truck a little bit warmer. I don't know. But then under that, there's another layer. Well, it's like a piece of plastic. I think that's the original matting for the floor. But that stuff's all just beat to shit. It's literally so dry, whatever that is. When you would go to pick it up, it just crumbles. So I just tore it all out. I'm throwing it away. I think you can still buy that stuff online. I think I've seen a place, I think even eBay has them. It's new floor matting crap that you can add or you can get for your truck. So when the time comes, I'm just going to order some new that new stuff, and then I'll just put the carpet back over it. But in the process of digging the floor out, I noticed that the passenger side floor is extremely rusty. That's a sign that it's been wet, and it's been wet for a long time. Of course, now when I check it now, it's obviously dry, but I don't know. But the driver's side's okay, but there is a tiny bit of rust there too. But it's just like, I don't know if it's even rust. It could just be dirt. Maybe it's rubbed the paint in, you know, it's changed the color of the paint. But the passenger side is definitely dickered. It's not rusted through yet, which is a good thing, but unfortunately that's probably not going to last forever. Pick this up. She's pretty rusty and flaky. There's nothing I can do about it. I mean, the only thing you could do, I guess if you knew a good body shop or something, maybe they could cut that floor out and weld in a new floor, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. But like I said, it's not extremely rusty either. Like, it's not rusted through, so I'm not going to worry about it. It can just stay that way. I cleaned it up the best I could, but to get that cover off the transmission, or the top of or on the floor, to get to the transmission, I have to clean well, I don't know, they use a mixture of bolts and screws, but I gotta get a wire brush, some PB Blaster, WD-40, and just soak everything down really good, because I don't think that's ever been off. But I don't know, it doesn't hurt to, take it off anyway and inspect it and see what's going on. Everybody says that the filler is on the side of the transmission, it's just a bolt or whatever. I don't see anything. There's one bolt on the side, on the passenger side, but it's way too small to be a fill. And that has a plate behind it. And that plate is bolted to the pump. And that pump is what, that's your PTO pump. So that little bolt cannot be the fill for that transmission. It just can't be, because I think it would be way too damn small. You would never be able to get a flexi hose in there or anything. People are like, oh, you got to fill the transmission from the side. I don't really see how you're ever going to get any kind of type of thing in there to fill it. I mean, if you just use a straight bottle, like what I got, there's no room. There's not going to be enough room to get the bottle really on an angle enough to get it to go through. I mean, maybe on some trucks they had that. I don't know, maybe some internationals did that, but I just don't think this L-130 did that. But I just can't find any freaking diagram on the transmission, for how to maintain. Well, I mean, some of the information I found for maintaining it, but they only tell you how or what type of oil to use for what season. There's winter grade oil, and then there's summertime oil. Okay, well, I just got summertime oil because as of right now, the truck's just going to be running in the summertime. We're not going to use it in the winter because the bed's not built yet. The bed's still, it's not, it's in pretty sad shape as well. A lot of steel needs to be welded back up, and the wood needs to be replaced, and it needs to be reinforced. So that's going to be the last thing I ever do to that truck. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a thing online, that shows how to fill it. I can't find anything. I know people say, oh, there's forums out there. Yeah, well, I sure in the hell can never really find them. I've found some, but that, is stuff that I kind of already knew, and it just is not truly on how to actually change the oil on that. I need some pictures or some words, even a video would be better, on exactly where that filler is at. Reese 6, you say it's on the side. Well, see, I don't know, your trucks are bigger than mine, so, I mean, it's different, but I don't know. You might have to crawl underneath your truck and take a video of yours to give me an idea where to look, but I'm pretty damn sure I've been all over that transmission. Side to side, underneath, found the drain. So I know where the drain's at, so that's not a huge deal, but for filling it, that's a big problem. Because I'm not going to drain it if I can't fill it. So, I don't know. And the transmission doesn't sound exactly the healthiest right now. I don't know if it's low in oil or, or what the problem is. But she's throwing a hissy fit. It still shifts fine and stuff. It just doesn't sound that healthy. To me, it just sounds like it's low in oil. But I think a lot of that oil is in the pump. That, it works for your tilt. So I'm guessing I don't know. I am not going to know anything until I find the fill for that transmission. I'm just not going to know until I find the fill, so then I know where to fill it. I found out how much oil the transmission takes, so I know that. They say what kind, but they don't show any pictures or anything like that. They don't tell you where the fill is. I found the drain. Okay, well, I don't need a book to tell me where the drain's at, because they're always on the very bottom of everything. So, I don't know. And then for the rear end, that's a son of a bitch as well, because you have to have a square, basically like a square shaft type of thing that you can fit in that hole, because you can't, it's not an ordinary bolt, you know, where you can just put an ordinary socket on it and run it out. It's like a, well, I don't know, it's a bolt, but it's a screw kind of, because it's an internal thing. So because they have the bolt flush with the very bottom of the axle, so obviously if you were to go rock crawling with it, you're not going to shear that off because it's flush with the axle. See, whereas on the transmission, that bolt, that's actually like a bolt. It sticks out a little bit because it's got a head on it. So you could put a socket on that if you had to. But for the rear axle, that is, I don't know, it just supposedly it takes a regular, you know, like a ratchet or something, and you can fit it in there and they'd be fine. None of my shit works. It's either too big or too damn small. So I'm going to risk it because I don't really, it's not going to be a waste of money anyway, but I'm going to order some, I guess they're called Hicks sockets off of Harbor Freights. I don't know if they'll work anyway. They look square to me, but I think they're supposed to be, I think a little bit more of like a star-shaped design. I don't really know. They look square to me when I look at the pictures, but their pictures suck ass too, so. But they're only like $13 a piece. So I'm just going to order a couple of those and then try it for the rear end. The rear end's not that scary because I found the fill in the drain. So that's actually going to be the easiest thing to do too, is change the oil on that rear end whenever I can get the proper tools to pull out the plug. So for the transmission, that's going to be a nightmare, and I'm not finding anything, you know, to fill. My guess is it's underneath the cover on the cab floor. It's under there. You gotta take the cover off. But I also did find out some information on the truck that it requires, you have to change it, the oil, every 50,000 miles. Well, this truck is 6,000 miles overdue, which isn't a hell of a lot, but, and I'm pretty sure that it's all original, like the mileage. It's not, I don't think it's like a different, I don't think they've replaced the gauge or anything stupid like that. So I think it's all, you know, the same. So, or it's original mileage to me. So the transmission is due for an oil change. But, and I think the rear end was every 2,000 miles or something. You had to change that as well. But again, how long that's been changed, or how long since it's been changed, I don't know. It could be the original shit too. So I'm wore out. So I don't know. It's not going to really be a terrible waste of time to take that cover off, because it will be kind of an interesting thing to see what's going on underneath there. But I don't like messing with stuff either, because I have a habit of breaking shit and then I can't fix it. So it's going to be a scary thing to do. But I mean, what's the worst thing that you can do? You can't put a bolt back in. Well, oh well. So I guess you just put the carpet over it and whatever else, and that'll keep the cover on for you. And I was kind of being, when I first got, you know, the cover exposed, it kind of threw me for a loop, because this is going to sound stupid, but I literally thought that was plexiglass, but it's not flat, because, you know, because they got it curved up, I guess, to match the hump of the transmission. So it's curved up like that, but for a few seconds there, I thought that I could see right through the damn thing. And it's not rusted out or anything. But then I knock on it, like, well, this doesn't sound like steel. So it's I think it's some type of plastic. Which I didn't think they would do that. I thought they would use steel. Back in those days, I think they mostly used steel for everything. So, but when you knock on it, it sounds like some type of plastic or something, you know, like a heavy plastic. So I don't know. but got thrown for a loop there because it looked like I could see right through it, but it looks like you can't, you know. So, but you know, too, that's another thing too. You really can't expect these trucks to be original. Like, I mean, I think mine's about 90% original, maybe even 95% original. But you know, you can tell that the great grandparents, they have tinkered with it. They have, I think, added things, removed things. You know, they've just done things to it, and who knows what the last owners did to it too. I don't think my great grandparents bought that thing brand new. Even though trucks were pretty cheap back in those days, I don't think, you know, the great grandparents were making a lot of money even then too. So how much they were making, I don't know. So, but I don't know. I think they bought that thing used, but it obviously didn't have a lot of miles on it to begin with when they got it, because I cannot see that thing. I mean, it's surprising though too, in a way, because it's so rusty. Like, the floor's rusted. It's got two rust holes. I guess it would be kind of like in the front grill area there, kind of down towards where the blinkers are at, or where the running lights would be at. The blinkers are on the top. There's running lights underneath the headlights, and those have two rust holes, one on each side. But I just figured, you know, that could just be from sitting all these years. And then, you know, obviously just as with age, trucks get rusty and things get a little seized up. So, but yeah, and the parking brake don't work. I think the cable is just broken though, I think. I don't know if you can, that'd be a pretty short freaking, yeah, that'd be a pretty short cable. But it looks like, though, how they did it for the parking brake, it doesn't go to the rear axle. It's literally, you got the transmission, and then they have, like, you know, the shaft that comes out, and that's where your drive shaft would slip onto. But what they did is they slid on, which looks like a braking system, because it looks like there's two big giant brake pads on it, but it looks like they're kind of wore out. And then when you pull the lever, then it pushes those brake pads against this big drum. And then then another shaft, I guess, would come out of that, and then you put your drive shaft onto that. So if that's the parking braking system, that's an interesting thing. But I don't like the fact that it's all exposed. There's no cover for it or anything, unless there was one and it was just removed. But I don't ever see. I've never even seen bolt holes for it. So, well, that's kind of an interesting thing, though. You know, that's the parking brake is literally that thing right between the drive shaft and the transmission. That's supposedly your parking brake. So, and then the brakes, you know, when you push on the brake pedal, they go to the rear wheels. From what I can tell, I don't think the front wheels do anything besides steer. That's about all they do, which kind of makes somewhat sense, because, I mean, it is technically a heavier truck, and, you know, they put a heavier rear end in this truck too. This is not an ordinary pickup truck. See, that's the thing with these internationals, is that back in the day, you could order these trucks with anything. You can get a flatbed, a regular pickup bed of any size, you know, a grain box, which is what this one has. And I imagine there's a few other things too that you could, you know, so you could customize these trucks to your needs. And while this was set up to be a grain truck, but I still just don't think that. I kind of feel like at one time this truck was a pickup, but then whoever owned the truck first converted it to be a grain truck. So they put the heavier frame in over the factory frame, and then they put the heavier rear end in it, and, you know, and so on. So even the oils that I'm using right now for the rear end may not even be correct, because it's probably for a smaller rear end. I don't know. They say, you know, I think there was a forum too. I've seen that they talked about the different axles. There was a dually, and then there's a single wheel. This is a dually. So, but I don't know if that's if that's actually an international rear end or if it's out of another junk truck or something. I don't really know. I guess you'd have to maybe see if you could take a part number off it and run it through the system. Maybe it would come back to something, but oil's oil, so if it's the wrong type of gear oil for the rear end, well, too fucking bad. It'll run on it just fine. It lubricates, so all that matters. But the transmission, that's a little more important because I kind of want to make sure that has the right stuff. But it looks like they only had only one type of transmission for these sizes of trucks. And it's just a 4-speed. I think some were even a 3-speed, but that might have been for the smaller trucks, maybe. I don't know. Because I think they made an L-100, L-110, L-120, and then an L-130, which is what this is, and then so on. And then they quit making the L's, and then they went up, I think, to the R or whatever the next size up is. So, but I think Roosty sticks his is an R160, I think, that rock truck of his, which would be a bigger truck than mine. So, but I don't know, it's still a good truck. I mean, it needs a lot of help, that's for sure, and it's never going to be 100% perfect. It's not going to be a show truck, that's for sure. Not in my lifetime. Maybe if I have kids or something someday, and maybe they want to completely rebuild it and go through it and make it look like a factory truck, well, then they can do it, but they sure in the hell ain't going to be selling it. So, I had a hell of a time convincing my grandma not to get rid of it. You know, because there were some people that were interested in it, even after we got rid of all those junk cars. Because we had a big stockpile of them, too, up in the pasture there, and we sold them to a guy, and that guy said that he would take the grain truck and the blue pickup, and I think something else too, but I can't remember. But well, he took that anyway. We didn't need it, but I told my grandma, if you get rid of the grain truck and the blue pickup, I'm never talking to you again. So she said, "All right, I won't sell it," and you know, sure enough, she didn't. But then the problem was that, you know, every couple of weeks there was somebody coming down. Because the word spreads. You know, when you sell a car to somebody, you know, it spreads. The news gets out, hey, this guy's, you know, got junk stuff. You know, hey, there's an old grain truck sitting there. Go see if you can get it. You know. The only thing they were going to do with it is just crush the son of a bitch. That's all they were going to do with it. That they wanted it for scrap. They wanted it for the money. They weren't going to restore it. Which is a damn shame, because a lot of those cars that were sitting there, I think a lot of them could have been rebuilt and put back on the road again. They weren't. I don't think they were a total loss. I mean, they were parted out because the engines were wore out and stuff. And for us, well, for my grandma and my great grandma and my other family members, it was easier just to get a newer car than it was to replace an engine, because an engine was the same as buying another used car off the street. So that's kind of just what they did. Plus, those cars had a lot of miles too on them, so it kind of just made sense, I guess, to get something else. But yeah, after we sold all those junk cars and sold a couple of old engines that were laying around, there was an old John Deere engine laying around. I don't know what the hell that come off of, but it was actually sitting behind the grain truck. It was obviously an engine, a John Deere engine. I'm guessing probably for a combine or something. I don't really know. Because I think back in the day, I think my great-grandparents had to have a pull-type John Deere combine, because I found a book for it. But the book, you know, it was all chewed out from the rats and whatever else. I don't know what I did with it. I think I still have it. But it was pretty much, you know, shit, the book. But kind of figured, oh, you know, my great-grandparents must have owned a combine at one time, because they did have wheat and stuff growing in this field, you know, back in the day. So that was for their dairy cattle. That's what they did back in the days. They did dairy cattle because that was big back then. But then, of course, you know, we get run out because of the big guys. Plus, the great-grandparents were getting close to retiring anyway, and obviously they retired. But now, instead of raising dairy cattle, because we knew that there wasn't going to be no money to be made there, we switched over to red cows, and then Angus came along, and that's what we're doing now, is we're raising Angus cattle. So, but there's not much money to be made in that now either, because so many people are fucking doing it now, because they knew at the beginning there was a lot of money to be made. So, but I don't know, Angus meat I think is a little more expensive too, but it's worth it. You get I think a little bit better product. So, but you know, person's choice, I guess. If you like the other meat, go for it. For me, I like Angus, so, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Meat is meat. So, but yeah, so like I was saying, those people were, every couple of weeks or so there was another guy that was coming, and you know, they're like, hey, are you interested in selling the grain truck? Of course, Grandma said no, and whatever else. So I think that happened for maybe a month. Every couple of weeks or so, there was somebody coming at least, and I think they were more interested in the grain truck than they were anything else, because that's the only thing they were ever talking about. But they told them, no, I'm saving that for my grandson, which is me. And well, now you see why I wanted it, because it's going to be my tinker toy. Even though this is getting to be a tinker toy too, because I'm always fixing shit on it seems like. Whereas I got a sensor issue going on now too with my shifting. I don't know if I'm in high or what, because when I go into high, the sensor doesn't say anything. So I think the sensor's wore out. Even though it shouldn't be, because it ain't that old. But I don't know. Might order a new one sometime. Probably not, because I don't really care. I know I don't really need it anyway on the damn display, because it's on the fucking shifter itself too. And that's never gonna disappear or wear out. So I kind of know what gear. Plus, I just kind of know anyway. I know the layout of the transmission, so I know what gear I'm in. Plus, you can tell if you're in low or high or neutral or whatever. I mean, you don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist to figure that shit out. So it doesn't really bother me that the sensor's going out. So whatever. But yeah, it's I think that's kind of the reason why that truck had kind of a funky smell in the cab, because the floors were rotting, and it was, even though it was dry now, but it's just, I don't know what's in that truck, but it's making me sick. I don't know why, but even when I got closer to done there, I just kind of started feeling kind of weird. And even now, I'm still feeling kind of weird. I'm not really sure. So, but I mean, the rats have been all over it too, so I imagine that's not really much of a help either. And they've been in the seat, and the seat's all chewed to shit. So, but I don't plan on getting this seat fixed anytime soon. Once the truck is fully functional and everything works, then maybe. But right now, I'm just going to take my time with getting that cover off. I'm imagining the time I get this video uploaded, I probably wouldn't have had it off yet, because I think tomorrow I'm just going to hit it with a wire brush, get everything really sparkly clean, and then soak the piss out of it with some PB Blaster or some WD-40 or something. Let it soak for a few hours, and then give it another try, or give it a try then. But I don't really want to break those damn bolts off, so a good soaking would do them some good. So, but I got nothing to lose really by taking it off anyway. It'd be interesting to see what's underneath there anyway, and I just feel like that's where the plug's at. But that would be kind of a nuisance, but it's only 50,000 miles that you'd have to change it, and at the rate we're going with this truck, well, yeah, we're not going to put 50,000 miles on, every year. I mean, yeah, it just wouldn't happen. So it would probably be every 10 to, well, not even that, maybe every 20 years. Well, changing now, I probably won't have to change it again until I turn 50. So, and then maybe once again when I'm 80 or 90, well, then I'll be done. I'll be retired, so screw it. Somebody else can dick around with it then, but it's not leaving the family, that's for sure. But I don't know, whatever, that's the way it is. But I'm going to try to take that cover off anyway and see if I can find a big bolt or something that's on top of there and pray that that's where it's at. Probably not, but like I said, I can't find any forums online that tells you where to fill it or not. I know you guys say it's on the left side or the right side of the transmission, the passenger side, but I just don't see it. I don't see nothing there. So, I don't know. So, and that's another thing too. Depending on how bad the oils are for the rear end and the transmission, there's probably going to be a pretty good chance that I'm probably going to have to dump some diesel fuel down in the transmission and probably run it with that for, a couple miles or something, because depending on if it's gooey and it's got chunks in it, yeah, then I'm going to want to clean it out. So I'll just flush it with some diesel fuel, maybe I think it takes 2 quarts for that transmission, so I'll have to put in like maybe 2 quarts of diesel fuel, or a quart, maybe a quart and a half, and maybe a little bit of transmission oil with it. I don't know, just to kind of help it out. But it's going to need to be flushed. I imagine that stuff's not exactly healthy for it. Same thing with the rear end. It's going to have to get filled with diesel fuel probably and run for a couple miles and then drain it again. Try to clean the transmission out. But other than that, I don't know. If it comes out like water, then we're all right. But if there's actually water in it, that's going to be more fucking concerning. But all you could probably do, again, is just run some diesel fuel through it and run it like that for a couple of miles and then dump it. And then put a transmission oil in, and if you really wanted to, dump it again and put newer stuff in again. Do like a double flush, if you want to really be clean and just want to really be clean about it. So, but we'll figure it out once I find the plug or the fill for it. Like I said, I'm not going to dump whatever's in there now until I can find the fill for it, because it's just not going to happen. If I can't find it, what the hell am I going to do? I'm not going to run the transmission dry, unless you're just asking for trouble then. So I just hope that maybe it's low on some oil. That's why she don't sound healthy. And maybe, I'll find the damn fill. So, but if any of you guys out there know of anybody that has an L-130 International, I guess just ask them where the transmission fill is and whatever else. So either that or find me a freaking forum or something online where I can, get a book on this or something. I don't know. I do know of a place where you can buy some books, but those are more or less just to know how to drive the truck and how to do general maintenance. So I don't know if that'll be any help or not, but they're kind of expensive too. I think they're like $40 a book. So, but I guess it probably wouldn't hurt at least buy one of them. Maybe that would tell me something at least. So, but yeah, it would be nice to find the fill. But I don't know. To me, I think it's on the top. You got to take that cover off to get to it. That's just me. And I'm going to clean it anyway. Even if I don't get the cover off, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, it's going to be a couple days before I probably get it off anyway, because I'm going to want to clean it really well and then soak the bolts down. By then, this video would have been up probably long before then. It'll probably go up tomorrow for me, but to you, it'll be whenever. So, I don't know. But yeah, to me, I think it's on the top side of the transmission. You gotta take the cover off on the floor. Take the floor cover off, and it'll be probably there behind the shifter. There'll be like a big bolt or something stuck there, and you just gotta work it off. So work it out. So, and then after that, we'll clean the floor up really well, and then I'll order some new of that matting stuff, I guess. I think it's probably just sound dampening stuff. I don't really know, but order some new of that stuff, put it in place, and then put the carpet back on, I guess. And that's another thing too, since I was talking about the carpet, the gas pedal is not attached to anything. It's just attached to the rod that you push on. When you push on the pedal, it moves that rod. That's it. I was pretty sure that I thought that thing would be bolted to the floor so it would pivot, but there's nothing there for it to pivot on. So I don't know if that gas pedal is even original to the truck. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know. But they had a hole in the carpet, I noticed. I mean, imagine it's probably just from over time, but the pedal managed to work its way into a hole in the carpet, and that's just where it's kind of always been. So I'm guessing that's kind of where it pivots, is on the carpet. Even though that's not a factory thing, but I don't think that gas pedal is a factory pedal either. I think it's off of a junk vehicle or something. But because it's got a hole in it, got these ears on the back where a pin is supposed to go through, and then it pivots there. But none of it makes sense. I mean, the rods are bent, and the rods are pushing up against the floor when you mash the pedal. So it's all not even correct anyway. It needs to probably be redone or something. I don't know, but it works. It's all that matters. So, but whatever. Anyways, guys, I guess I'm going to take off. If any of you guys have any ideas, I guess, where I can find these books or something online or forum or something, I guess let me know so then I can, get on with my projects. So, looks like it wants to fucking rain again, but it's not supposed to, so whatever. Anyways, guys, I guess I'm going to take off, so I guess have a good day and stuff. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Take her easy.